Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout. It's team news time and we're looking ahead to Gameweek 13. Seems like only yesterday I was here, so this is the third team news that I've been covering for the last 2 weeks. So more team news than UK Prime Ministers at the moment, which is quite good. As ever, I'm joined by team news guru Neale. Neale, welcome. How are you?
Well, I'm certainly not a guru, but I'm otherwise all right. Yeah, I'm ready for the World Cup now, I think. There's 3 game weeks finished me off, so I'm ready to put my feet up and watch Qatar and Iran in action.
A hell of a lot of team news over the last week or so, and more today as well. Just before we move on, just remind everyone to subscribe. Do subscribe so you can keep up to date with all our latest videos like this. And also do press that like button. It really helps us. And welcome to those that are joining us. A few hundred of you so far. I know it goes up as we go on. But Anil, FPL veteran, Abdullah, Karam, and FPL Gaza, FPL Sparta, Stephen, Vindy, Rodrev, Jack Flash, and many more. Thanks so much for joining us. So let's start. We've got the Saturday lunchtime kickoff. It's Nottingham Forest against Liverpool. So we'll go with Liverpool first because we're more likely to want to field those players, and one of their strikers could be an issue. So yeah, what's Jurgen Klopp been saying?
He could, yeah. This is Darwin, who came off in midweek against West Ham with what seemed to be a precautionary measure. Klopp even said today that there's no new injuries from midweek, but did slightly backtrack somewhat when he said that Darwin's one of the cases that we need to have a look at because he's not injured, but he felt something. And I don't know if he still feels that today. So they're going to assess him. Obviously, yesterday was a recovery day after the West Ham game. So today will be telling as to whether he's going to be fit or not. It is the early kick-off tomorrow.
Yeah.
So hopefully we get some sort of indication that he's travelled or he's fit enough to start. But slight doubt over his involvement. And he's now flagged, I think, as a 75% doubt, even though he's technically not injured per se.
So Jota's out. We know that already, long term. Diaz as well is out. We know that already. So Firmino's fit, Salah's fit, but nevertheless, with Darwin being questionable, that is an issue there. So do we think he's going to bother with a 3-5-2, or is he going to go back, still stick with this 3-4-3?
3-4-3?
Sorry, not 3-4-3. I'll completely rephrase that. Yeah. Sorry about that, everyone. Will he persist with 2 strikers up front, which he had done in Europe, or will he go back to this other formation, which is a single striker up front with Salah out on the wing?
Well, he could do. He did talk about the possibility of using different formations again today in the press conference. However, I wouldn't be surprised if Darwin misses out or if Darwin's fit, then Firmino might be due a bench, and he started the last 3 in League and Cup. So I wouldn't be surprised if Salah's back central for this, and he sticks with a 4-4-2. Mm-hmm. That would involve maybe Elliott coming in on the right wing. He was rested in midweek, so Elliott could come in on that flank. You've got Carvalho on the left. You could have Jones there as well, who's just back. So I wouldn't be shocked to see Salah through the middle with one of Darwin or Firmino.
Okay, so for those that want to take a risk and move away from Haaland with the captaincy, Salah with the armband, maybe if you want to take that risk there. But Nottingham Forest, their defence was looking good against Brighton. Will they? I don't know how well they're going to do against Liverpool. But yeah, what's the news from Steve Cooper and co?
Yeah, better against Brighton. I think they should have to rely on some profligacy from trademark profligacy from Brighton.
Yeah.
Forest, I think it's pretty much as you were. Richards, Niakate and Colback, Cooper said or implied heavily that they were still out. Toffolo's joined them on the sidelines as well. He picked up a hamstring in midweek, which is good for Williams in a sense because it's one fewer fullback option.
Okay.
O'Brien's unlikely to recover from illness, and there was no update on Renan Lodi as well, who was the other fullback. Left back he is. No update on him. There was a line about Aurier as well from Cooper saying that he's not quite fit enough to last 90 minutes. That's why they made him come off I think after an hour in midweek. But fit enough to start but not last a full game. Just going back to Liverpool, by the way, there was some others. I don't think anything's changed in terms of people coming back. Keita and Konate return to training on Monday, full training. And you've still got, as we said, Jota, Diaz, Matip, and Arthur out.
Rightio. So, to the answer to the question, can Tuffalo soldier on? Is no. Okay, let's move on to Everton and Crystal Palace. Let's start with Everton. Frank Lampard. Oh, I was going to point out as well that in the press conference, team news, very exciting news because they were together in your list. So you managed to get or rather they usually around the same point, but we got Thomas Frank in as well. So you managed to get Frank and Lampard giving their team news. So a very exciting moment for team news press conference list fans out there. Anyway, enough of that. Everton, Frank Lampard. What's he been saying?
Yeah, that's credit to FPL Partridge for that. Who's now at the helm of our social media account. Not one of mine, but I fully go behind that decision to list those two together. Everton, I think, were as we were. But some positive news on Patterson, who many people might still have as a budget defender. He should be back for Gameweek 14, which is next week.
Okay.
He's going to return to training or be stepping up his training next week. Godfrey's back in training next week as well, but still early stages for him. Okay. So it's the same four who are out this weekend: Mina, Townsend, Patterson and Godfrey, with Patterson penciled in for a return next weekend.
Right, yeah. And for Crystal Palace, usual suspects who are doubts, I presume?
Yeah, Vieira said no one is coming back from injury for this. Someone will be back from illness, and that's Will Hughes. So Klein's still out, Richards and MacArthur, they're still out as well. Ferguson, as we said on Tuesday, I believe that he's going to get game time with the under-21s first before he's considered. But he is injury-free for now.
Great time. Manchester City against Brighton. So we mentioned about the Nottingham Forest defence with Brighton. There you go, Man City next though. It's going to be a different type of game. But what shape are Man City in ahead of this eagerly awaited clash for those backing Man City assets this week?
Walker's still out. I think he'll be close to the World Cup, if at all, before the time he's back. Phillips, I think, is still out as well for a while, although Pep said today that he's doing much better and progressing. John Stones is the name they've got back, so he's been back in training the last couple of days, and Pep even said today that he's in the list for the weekend. So once upon a time, we thought the fullback positions of Man City were the most at risk in terms of rotation. Now he's got a full complement of 5 centre-halves to choose from. We've got Laporte coming into the mix as well, which is back from injury. So I wouldn't like to pick tier one on a week-to-week basis. I think 3 are starting at the moment, obviously, because Walker's out. So you've got either Ake or Kanji at fullback. But you wouldn't like to say that BS is definitely going to get the next 4 or Kanji is definitely going to get the last 4 because they now have, as I said, a quintet of centre-halves to choose from.
Rightio. For Brighton as well, I noticed something after this tweet as well, but I'm sure you'll probably mention it as well, but if you don't, I'll give it a go. What's Serby been saying? He hadn't said much earlier, I understand.
He didn't say much specifically about injuries. He was asked about Mitoma and Colwell and said that he's going to seek the medical staff's opinion on where they are in their recoveries. I think Mitoma's still out. Mm-hmm. He did cite fatigue as a concern.
Yeah.
I think he's kept things very, very settled ever since he's changed. And obviously, even before that, Potter was un-Potter-like, and he was not tinkering much with that starting 11. It's been the same starting 11 for much of the season. But he did say today that there's 2 or 3 players with some problems, and those some problems are fatigue. So he's going to assess those names in training. We don't know who they are. We can probably make a guess. Welbeck generally is fatigued around this time of the year.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised to see some changes to that starting 11 this weekend after a long period of stability.
Okay, you revealed what I was looking at was that Mitoma he hadn't definitely been ruled out and he was to be assessed, but it doesn't look overly hopeful. But at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised. One of the things he was saying is he wanted to attack this fixture. And Mitoma, he's the guy he brings on when he wants to kind of rev it up a bit. I wouldn't be surprised to see him if he's in any way fit, but maybe a big doubt at this stage. Let's have a look at Chelsea against Manchester United. So before we come to Manchester United, because there's an omission from their squad, but not for an injury reason. But before we come to that, Chelsea, Graham Potter, how's his team looking here?
As you were, I think. So that's still James, Kanté and Fofana out, medium-term absentees. Mm-hmm. other side of the World Cup, it looks like. And Gallagher's fine. He came off
Good.
on Tuesday, was it Wednesday, with an illness, but he's trained today, so Potter says he's recovered. And that's it. So I think nothing new from midweek and nobody coming back.
Now, Manchester United, issues up front for them. Ronaldo, he's not going to play. And why is that?
Well, it was confirmed today. We saw him flounced down the tunnel against Spurs. And the reason for that sort of discord between, he refused to make an appearance as a substitute against Spurs.
That's a faux pas.
Certainly.
Oh, you're still there, Neil?
Yeah. I'm still here, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, you just dropped out a slightly bit.
Oh, yeah. In case you missed any of that, yeah, Ronaldo is not part of the squad this weekend. He is omitted for disciplinary reasons. Team news: Martial's back on the grass, but he's not quite ready for this one. I think that's the case with when Maguire and Wan-Bissaka have been cited in training as well. We're not quite sure whether they're back for this one. They wouldn't trouble the starting 11 anyway. I think that just leaves Van de Beek out. But yeah, Ronaldo obviously the big headline from that.
Okay, rightio. Let's have a look at Aston Villa, Brentford. So big news at Aston Villa. No Steven Gerrard. We can't hear from him. Although we did hear a little bit from him last night before he was. Anyway, you tell us what's happened to him.
Yeah, we still might get. I'm not sure if he did an embargoed section, which might come out
after
later.
He was removed.
Yeah, exactly. So they've had an interview with the caretaker manager this morning. So I don't know if that's superseding the embargoed section.
Yeah.
So we're quite short on team news. We think that Digne and Augustinson are still out. I think they were meant to be about a week away, so possibly back for Gameweek 14. Kamara and Carlos, of course, are long-term ones. Doug Luiz is now banned. Douglas Luiz, he's a 3-match suspension. He got sent off for violent conduct against Fulham. Matty Cash was a line from Gerrard before he departed. He was rested in Gameweek 12 to ease his workload. He's been back recently, back from injury, fairly short term. It was only, I think, 2 games or around about a month. Yeah. But he was benched to ease his workload because of the recent comeback from a muscular problem. So he should be back in the starting 11 on Sunday. Okay,
and for those that don't know, Aston Villa put out a statement about an hour after they were beaten last night. They confirming that Steven Gerrard has left the club with immediate effect. But as he was leaving, he had time to shout out, by the way, Matty Cash is being protected. And then he got into his car and left. So that's the last of him. And we look forward to whoever replaces him and his press conferences. Thomas Frank, the one half of the Frank and Lampard double act in our press conferences. Usually he hasn't got much to say. Is that still the case this time?
From what I've seen of today's press conference or heard, which wasn't much, doesn't seem to be much new. Hickey, the backup goalkeeper, whose name I butcher every time, and Pontus Jansson, they're all out until Gameweek 17, the earliest. Norgard's nearly back. He's been back in training, but not quite ready for a playing comeback. So, yeah, that's no new concerns for the weekend, so, as you were.
Rightio. Now, Leeds Fulham. This is the only one where we don't have a team news yet, and that is for Fulham, but Leeds against Fulham. But Marsh has been talking ahead of this clash, so we do have some comments from Jesse Marsh. So what's he been saying? Yeah, we do have some. I mean, there's quite a few of these press conferences which were held last night after Gameweek 12 fixtures. Marsh has been one of them. So the quotes released today are from last night's presser. He's hopeful of Pascal Struijk being available. He missed out with a small problem in Gameweek 12. Dallas, we know, is out. Forshaw, Hjelde and Gray were closing in on returns, but we're not sure if they're back. They shouldn't be, again, trouble in the starting 11, even if they are fit. But I don't think there's anything else beyond that. So with Fulham, there was nothing. There's nothing sort of even rumours floating around there. Not that I've seen. Again, I'll wait for this to drop on YouTube when it does, if and when it does. I have seen the press conference notes on Fulham's website, so he has actually had something this morning, or possibly from last night. There was not much new on the team news front. We know that Dan James can't play because he's a loanee from Leeds, so he can't face his parent club. Solomon's definitely out. Tete and Kozawa they've been sidelined recently. We're not sure how close they are. But yeah, nothing. We have not heard anything new from Silva. If we do, of course, I'll put it on the team news roundup on the site and under the team news tab as well. Okay, just seen a comment in the chat from FPL Jogger, who I was going to have a walk and a chat with today about fantasy football, but we're doing this instead, and also by luck, it's absolutely pouring down with rain here in the West Country as per usual. So they're not doing that, but hello there. So Southampton, Arsenal. So let's start with Arsenal first, because this is probably why a lot of people are here. I've seen lots of comments about Saka in the chat as well. So there were some concerns over Saka after the match, and there was concerns about Martinelli before the match. So what's the situation at Arsenal?
I think it's looking fairly positive on both fronts. So last night, Saka took a knock, played on for a little while, and then came off. I think we were 5 minutes to go. Mm-hmm. And then Arteta said after the game that he received a kick and he was hopeful on him. Okay. Today, we've had a set of fresh quotes, which we think are from a standalone interview or something. And he said on Saka, and I quote this, "I think he's fine. He was struggling a bit at the end, but hopefully he will be fine for Sunday." So the hopeful in that and the think in that means that the flag still is on in FPL. Okay. But it sounds pretty good.
Okay.
Martinelli, by the way, was ill in midweek, but fit enough for the bench against PSV, even came on. So no lingering concerns about him.
So he's fine.
He's fine. The flag's off him. Zinchenko, the usual classic Arteta straight back. He's close. He's getting better and better. He's always in contention, according to Arteta.
Even when he's not.
Even when he's injured, he's always in contention. And the piece de resistance was, "I can't tell you if he's back this weekend." So thanks.
I did see that little bit on the interview, and I really wanted to be in that press conference and say, "Oh, go on, go on, tell us, go on."
He needs that fella who was
teams at stake here.
Who was the guy who was it grilling Marco Silva a couple of weeks ago on Mitrovic, and he just would not let it drop. He asked him about 5 questions about Mitrovic's fitness. We need him in Arteta's presses.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So big news at Southampton. So Southampton face Arsenal, and not a good time for them to face them with their defence. So yeah, there's some news there with their defence.
Well, potentially good news for Martinelli this as well, because he's obviously Arsenal's left winger, and Southampton are short of right backs. So already without Livramento,
he
was out long term. Walker Peters is now set for a significant period on the sidelines as well. Picked up a hamstring injury in midweek. So he's out. Not only that, Maitland-Niles, who has played right back before, I think, for Arsenal and possibly West Brom, he's ineligible to feature this weekend because he's on loan from Arsenal. So they are down 3 right back options. Bella Kotchap's out as well with a shoulder dislocation. Lavia's back in training, but not quite match fit. Maybe bench option, but don't think beyond that. So yeah, I don't know who they're going to play at right back. I'll have to maybe Ward Prowse. I'll have to look into.
Well, I suppose he has. Yeah, I think he has played there before, hasn't he?
I'll look into what the Saints fans are thinking. I haven't really looked into this yet. They need Ward Prowse in the middle of the park, I suppose, if Maitland-Niles is out as well. So yeah, but whoever lines up there won't be an orthodox right back.
Wow,
I think Valerie's even on loan somewhere. Yeah. So,
as you said, I mean, it is. I mean, you started by saying good news for Martinelli, and then proceed to say absolutely awful news about all these injuries and to these poor lads. But at the same time, it is good news if you've got Martinelli, or consider bringing him in because it looks like he's fit, totally fit and illness free, and he's up against. Well, who knows? The caretaker at Southampton, whoever they can muster up. So, some interesting news there. Wolves take on Leicester. Now, we know James Maddison's going to be back. We'll start with Leicester first. What else has Rodgers been saying about his squad?
Just recently in this press conference, Johnny Evans, he's been out for a while with his calf problem. He's back on the training pitch, but Rodgers was saying this afternoon that it might come too soon for him at the weekend. We'll see. So we're not too far away. Albrighton should be fine. He missed out with illness. And as you said there, Madison's back from a ban. Other than that, it's the long-term ones who are still out, like Pereira and Bertrand. Okay,
rightio. So could be good news for Johnny Evans there. Could be. Wolves, what's Steve Davis been saying there?
Well, Ryan, I know he's fit. He was absent in midweek with an illness. That's why Bueno came in, a 3.9 million defender, and did very, very well, according to not just his manager, but the fan base as well. And he did say everyone else is fit, Steve Davis. Obviously doesn't include the longer-term absentees like Neto and Jimenez. And I don't know if it includes Totti Gomez as well, who was missing on Tuesday. But no fresh concerns, and Aït-Nouri's back.
Okay. Now, Spurs against Newcastle. Injury concerns with both sides, I understand. Let's start with the home side. First, what's Conte been saying? In particular about Richarlison and Kulusevski, who's been sidelined for a while now.
Yeah, Kulusevski had been on the cusp, I think, of a return. He was mentioned as a sort of 50-50 call for a few of the recent games, but he's had a setback and now might not even be seen before the World Cup. Conte's hoping that he does get back in time for sort of Gameweek 15-16, but there's no guarantees. So yeah, what did he say this afternoon? He said his recovery was going well, and then one day the situation worsened, so they have to restart the recovery process again. And he did say he was worried about him not being back before the World Cup break.
Right, Joe. So last week, Conte was talking about formation. You know what we'll talk about.
I know where you're going with
and we speculated, and it did indeed transpire. He was talking about, I prefer 3 up front. That's the way I like to play. And we said, right, that's definitely 3-5-2, and it indeed was.
Yeah.
This time, what's he been saying about formation?
Yeah, this afternoon he's done the 180, and he said that 3-5-2 is the way to go this time.
Right.
Yeah, because Lucas Moura is only just back from injury. Yeah. Obviously, Kulu and Richarlison are out. So yeah, definitely going to be 3-4-3 this weekend with.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's also foolish. Why would a manager just say, "Oh, this is definitely how we're playing"? When that's
Well, now he knows that we're double bluffing. Maybe he's. Now that he knows that he's bluffing. Maybe he's going to double bluff.
Yeah.
And actually play the 3-5-2 this weekend. So.
Yeah.
One other piece of injury news, in team news.
Yeah.
That's Emerson Royal's back from a ban. So that's competition for Doherty.
Okay. Yes, I got Doherty in my team. A number of people have recently got him in. I'm probably looking to bench him myself.
There was a line from Conte. I'll just quickly get this up on the Football London website because I've not transcribed it yet. It was about Doherty playing twice for Ireland and then playing 2 in a row this week. So I don't know if that was hinting towards possible arrest, but then again,
could be a double bluff.
Again, it could be that.
Doherty out front, there it is on pens.
Dead Spence. Yeah.
Okay.
So he's going to make a decision on that right wing back slot, but that was always going to be the case. We knew Emerson was coming back for this one, and this was the risk for Doherty.
Okay, with Newcastle, we know Isak is out.
Yeah.
What about Joe Ellington?
Yeah, I think that's the right way to pronounce it as well.
It is the right way because I've consulted with Brazilian people about this.
Yeah, he's.
I was shocked you didn't.
That was a joke when he first came in that he was a lad from Blythe.
Yeah.
He's probably out with this by the looks of it. He came off in midweek with a knock to the knee, and I was hopeful that it was just a knock, but they're still not sure what the prognosis is. It says they're hopeful it's not serious, but it's still unclear. So obviously not going to risk him if there's any doubt about it. As you said there, Isak's still out. St. Maximum's still out as well. Still recovering with the physios.
Okay.
Dummett, Darlow, Kraft, Ritchie, all still out. Mankio's only just back in training after an ankle problem. Did say there was a possibility that he might rotate. He kept an unchanged team in midweek, which I thought I got this wrong actually. I thought he might make a couple of changes. So there is a chance that he rotates 1 or 2 players for the Spurs game. But they do have an extra day of recovery compared to some teams. And they're on a bit of a roll, which I'm delighted to report.
Just before we move on to West Ham, Bournemouth, a few people in the chat will talk about Perisic as well.
Yeah.
I presume he's all fit and everything, but do you think that he starts or will Sessegnon replace him?
Yeah, I'm sure Sessegnon's going to replace him at left wing back. However, Perisic is one of the options in the front 3 if he does go with a 3-4-3. So I do think we'll see Sessegnon back in the team, and it's now a question of whether he's true to his word with the 3-5-2 or whether he pulls the rug from under us yet again.
Mind games there, but
Perisic and Doherty both started twice in this last week. That's so that there is obviously a big concern about that.
Okay, rightio. Let's move on to that final game, which is the Monday night game, West Ham against Bournemouth. Some mixed news at West Ham.
Yeah, the Brazilian sensation Lucas Paqueta.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the wrong pronunciation. His shoulder injury isn't as serious as first thought. So it isn't as serious as first thought. I butchered that sentence as well as his name. he did say himself, I think, on social media that he was going to be out for 2 weeks. Moyes saying it's not as serious as what they first thought. So yeah, I still think he's a doubt for this Monday game against Bournemouth. Courtney is back in the grass after 3 weeks out with a calf problem. No word on Dawson, who's had, I think he came off the dead leg last week.
Okay.
But that will be around about a week now of recovery. If it's a dead leg, you think he'd be fine. But it might be something else. I don't think there's anything new beyond that.
Okay. Maxwell Cornet, obviously back on the grass. What, as they're saying in the live chat, whatever that means.
Yeah, whatever that means.
Bournemouth as well. This is going to be short. What's happening at Bournemouth?
Out.
Okay, there we go.
As you were, just Kelly and Brooks out. Stevens is back from. He was ineligible to play midweek. West Ham, just a line going back to West Ham. I think Moyes was saying about they've got 7 games between now and the World Cup, so they'll have to manage game time here and there, but. There is quite a generous recovery period. Is it Wednesday to Monday for West Ham's game week 12 to 13 games? So they have got the Europa League on Thursday, but I think they're doing pretty well in that already. So they might rest some key names there. Yeah,
they seem to be rotating Antonio and Scamacca quite nicely at the moment, which is a better option than they had last season.
Yeah,
when they just had to just play Antonio, whatever.
Yeah, or Yarmolenko up top.
Yeah. Let's have a look at the roundup of key news. So I did what I could for this one. Just a reminder again to do press subscribe, do press like. So fit to play. Hope I got this right. Stones, Gallagher and Stroik and Altnori are all fit to play, whether they play or not. But
Strokes are questionable, I think.
Oh, is he a questionable? I should move him over then. Matoma, questionable at the moment, but unlikely. Saka, slight questionable. Nunes, slight questionable. Johnny Evans, we haven't had anything concrete on that, so still questionable at this stage. And Steven Gerrard shouting from his car as he left the ground that Cash could be questionable there. Major doubt Lavia, Joe Ellington and Paqueta are definitely out. Is Walker Peters, Bella Kotchat, Richarlison and Kulusevski, Toffolo, Diaz, Jota. These are a lot of long-term ones here. Martial, we found out about as well. Ronaldo for that disciplinary reason. St. Maximin as well. Isaac, we know about. I put Martial in twice. So Martial is so out. I've referenced him twice there. Just to really reiterate that. So thanks so much for everyone that's joined us in the live chat. I do hope we've been a great use to you, sort of Neale's expertise there. Good luck with your remaining transfer decisions, or whether you've just made them, and good luck with the game week, and to you too, Neale. So thanks a lot for joining me, and we'll see you soon. Okay,
bye.